Oh, hello. Do you want to hear a story? Well, okay then. Once upon a time, in an off sales or liquor store near you, stood a dusty, old, non age stated whiskey. Hello and welcome to another whiskey review with me, the Whiskey Novice. Thank you for joining me. As always, it's always a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for joining me for review number 103, part 2 of a series in which I'm looking at some non-age stated whiskies. N.A.S, if you wish. Obviously, this is just a bit of a snapshot of some non-age stated whiskies because there's an awful lot of them out there, and I'm not going to do them all in one series, but I certainly probably will come back and do some more. So what are we looking at this time? Well, it's Talisker Storm from the Isle of Skye, aren't they? So tell me it's, of course it's the Isle of Skye. Yes. And as we know, Isle of Skye, and this is entry level. It's entry level now. This was released by Diageo in 2013, and it was originally priced and punted between the 10-year-old and the Distillers edition. Now, since then, it has slipped down the price range, and it now tends to slot between the Skye, which is their entry level, and the 10-year-old. So you're looking at their entry level sort of goes Skye Storm 10-year-old. Part of the reason why it was originally punted up above that 10-year-old was it was reported to contain whiskies between 3-year-old and 25-year-old. Probably a little teaspooning being involved in there, I would imagine. But maybe it does contain whiskies as old as 25 years old. Who knows? Who knows? This is matured in second fill and recharred American oak. So it is. Let's take a look. Bottled at 45.8%, as are most Taliskers around the entry level up until probably the Port Louis, something like that. Colour added, yeah, probably. Chill filtered, yeah, of course. Now, I might sound like I'm being a little disparaging of this. I'm not. Trust me. Creamy, earthy, apples, and sea breeze. I think there's a lot going on here. Creme brulee. I'm going to come straight out with it and tell you, I like this whiskey. I think I've always quite liked this whiskey. I've had a couple of bottles of it. I had the Skye. I'll get on to that later. There's nothing to hide here, is what I like about it. It pretty much wears its heart on its sleeve. All the notes are there for you to find. There's nothing hidden. It's a relatively 25 to 35 pound whiskey here. You'll get it if you get it on offer in the mid 20s. I think it's a bloody good price, especially at 45.8%. The smokiness is there. Obviously, yes, the smokiness is there, which is, to me, typically of Talisker. The smoke's there, but it's not the driving factor. Neither is it hidden. It's there, but it's just well balanced in with everything else. And I said earlier about apples, there's also pears, vanilla, beeswax, there's a meatiness, boiled ham. And there's also, I'm getting herbal notes dancing about in the background, sage, and even rosemary. I definitely find, and I've always found, there's nothing to hide with this whiskey. Sweet and sour delivery. Coats. Isn't too oily, but isn't too thin. Light, citrusy. Sweet. Yeah, there's a sugariness along with the citrusy notes. As I said, it's light-ish, but it's also coating. Yeah, an awful lot of contradiction in this, but good contradiction. Like the nose, which was all open there for you to find. The palate's the same. There's plenty of flavours going on. Seashells, smoke. Any smokiness is almost a damp of a bonfire which has been rained on. How does that sound to you? Yeah, it's a dampness, you know, it's not smoking anymore, but you can still smell that around. There's a vanilla runs the whole way through it. There is a sweetness there all the time, but the creaminess is there. Dashes of orange and lime. Yeah, it you know, it doesn't hide anything, I've always found. Falls a little flat on the finish. It's medium length, I would say. It's clean, it's fresh, slightly sherbety. Not a lot of flavour carrying through. Not, you know, it wouldn't drag you back screaming and saying, you know, I have to get another dram of this because the finish was so great. But it's not bad. The finish ain't bad. It just, you know, if you've watched my reviews, if you've watched my reviews before, you know you'll get an honest opinion. And honestly, my opinion on Talisker Storm and probably the Sky, it's quite a while from I've had the Sky, but I remember liking it. I like this. Does it differ enough from the 10-year-old? This is what I was curious about. So let's find out. I was going to do this off screen, but hell, you're here, I'm here. Why not just do it now? Let's just try a little drop of the 10-year-old alongside it and see if they differ much. Price-wise, well, I suppose the 10-year-old comes in around maybe closer to the 35 to 45 mark. I need to let this settle, obviously, because there's more going on in the glass with the Storm. Yeah. Now the 10's creeping up. Yeah, the 10 will be slightly more floral. It's a little more fruity, less. I did read that yet again the Storm was put out as being smokier than the 10-year-old, and I would actually think I would agree with that. Possibly pulled up by that rechar. I don't know, because maybe the 10-year-old's rechar as well. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, the 10 will be slightly more floral. Sweeter in the palate. Brings more in the palate. Not as smoky. It's not. They've that smoke well balanced down in the 10 and stripped down as compared to the Storm. The 10 just feels more mature, shall we say, is a good way to put it. That the 10 actually does feel, it's got a better mouthfeel, it's got a better finish, a much better finish, much spicier finish. There's more going on in the finish of the 10-year-old than the Storm. So I'm actually surprised at that myself. I hadn't done that And if I had ever compared the two of them together, it was probably quite a while ago. So yeah, this does play, in my opinion, below the 10-year-old. So if you know, this isn't if you like this, So, but yes, still, I just, it's, if you can get it at the right price, I find Talisker Sky and Storm to be inoffensive and approachable, I suppose is a good way of putting it. As long as you're happy enough with smoking your whiskey, that is. But I still quite like them. So I'm not going to add water. I did add water. It did freshen it up a little. It did make it, but it still didn't. It didn't ruin it, but it didn't improve it enough for me to justify adding water here now. So we shall just move on, shall we? Yes, if you like this, if Talisker Storm, let's say for talk's sake, was your first try at Talisker and you liked it and you want to, well, I was actually going to suggest to you the Talisker 10-year-old, but we've done that really, haven't we? And I mean, by all means, if Talisker Storm was your sort of thing, it's the first time you've tried Talisker, I would definitely recommend you buy the 10-year-old and try it. It is a better whiskey. In my opinion, it is a better whiskey. But I'm not going to do that here. What I'm going to do here is suggest to you a bottle. This one, a bottle I don't currently have in my collection, but have in the past. The Douglas Lang Rock Island, one of their remarkable malts collection. This is a blended malt using whiskies from, includes whiskies from Arran, Orkney, Islay and Jura, I think it says in the label, maybe others in there. And I mean, which distilleries are used in each case. It doesn't claim, but yeah, if you've had Talisker Storm and you like, and you think I like that flavour profile, definitely I would recommend Douglas Lang's I keep going to say Rock Oyster because it used to be called Rock Oyster, Rock Island to you, because it's, for me, very much of that flavour profile. They do knit those, whichever whiskies it is that they use, they do knit them together very well to make another whiskey, which to me is around that same sort of flavour profile as you get in Talisker, roughly. I mean, it's just a suggestion. So yeah, that's it for this one. Talisker Storm, yes, I do still. I think it would nearly be safe to say I've got a bit of a soft spot for Talisker. It was one of the first peaty-ish whiskies, smoky sort of whiskies that I took to, and I've always had a bit of it. Now this one, weirdly, trying it against that 10-year-old now has slipped back a little, and has proved to me that the 10-year-old is a better whiskey than this. Once again, in my opinion. So let's just leave it at that. Thank you very, very much for joining me. Thank you very, very much to my patrons. If you wish to join that group, the details are below. Until next time, my friends, here's your good health. Cheers. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Please click and subscribe to be notified of further content.